welcome back to my channel. So I know I've been gone for quite a while and I do apologize for that, but I do have my reasons for the hiatus and I'll explain it in my next video, which is going to be a life update video. But in this video I'm going to talk about something that I've been putting off for quite a while, and that is the birth and delivery story of my son. I know that a lot of people were asking about it right away, but the thing is I didn't feel comfortable filming it because I wasn't really ready to share it. It was a very traumatic and scary experience for me. But now I feel ready and confident to talk about it. So if you're eating or drinking something, I highly recommend that you finish that first, because given the nature of this content, it's going to be a bit graphic. So if you're ready to listen to my birth story, then keep on watching. So at 38 weeks I went to the OB to get checked out and everything, and my cervix was 1.5 centimeters dilated and it was pretty thin already, so the doctor said I can actually give birth anytime. Basically, when you're pregnant, your cervix is hard like the tip of your nose, and when the time is near for your baby to come out, it'll start to thin out and it'll start to open, and when it opens to 10 centimeters, that's when the doctors will tell you to push. So I was really excited, and just 2 days after that appointment, my mucus plug dropped out while I was using the toilet. And that's basically a mucus plug that plugs your cervix. During pregnancy, it's there so that bacteria can't get into your uterus and harm your baby. When it drops out, you know the time is near. A week went by and still I didn't get any contractions, but I did get period-like cramps and I started getting very thirsty. So for that week, I had to get up every hour to use the washroom at night because I drank so much liquid and I kept peeing and peeing and peeing. And then at 39 weeks, I was sleeping, and of course I had to use the washroom every hour, as I mentioned. And at 6 o'clock, I went to the washroom and used it, and then I came back to bed, and then I felt something wet. So I went to the washroom and I looked, and there was blood on my undies. So I was like, oh, I didn't really know what it was. It was kind of like a period blood. So I called the nurse hotline, and she said it could be a bloody show because since I already lost my mucus plug, this might be the next step. And she said that not to worry since I don't have any contractions, and so I didn't really worry. And I couldn't sleep after that because I was so excited, so I just got up and I started cleaning the house. And then I actually had a doctor's appointment at 8:30 that day as well. We went to the appointment and the doctor checked me, and she said, oh, it looks like your water already broke, because I told her about the bloody show. And the doctor said that that was actually my water, and my water was like tinged with lots of blood, which I guess is not very normal, but then again, every pregnancy is different. But usually the water should be clear and it shouldn't smell or anything. That's a good indication that everything is going, you know, a-okay. So right away, they didn't really know what was going on, so they brought me to a room which was kind of like the assessment room. So they hooked me up to a monitor and they started checking me. So this was around 8:45 already. And I forgot to mention that when she checked me, I was 3 centimeters dilated, so I was pretty happy. And then she came back in to check me at 10 o'clock, and I was still at 3. But then an hour later at 11, it got so bad. I don't know how it jumped like that, but my contractions were 1 minute long and they were only 2 minutes apart, which is, you don't get any resting time. It felt really painful. I felt like in that 1 hour, it went from like 1 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. It was really crazy. So the doctor came in again. She checked me and she said I was about 3.5 centimeters, like close to 4, but not really. And then again, she came back in at 1 o'clock after my hubby had lunch, checked me again, and I still wasn't reaching 4 centimeters, but my contractions were so painful. And at this point, I called my sister and she said, oh, why are you just in bed? You should be like walking around, because she's given birth before, so that's what she told me. So I told the nurse that, and she was like, oh, it's just, we don't really know what's going on because of the blood in your amniotic fluids, so that's why they want you to just rest. And then I'm like, I think it's okay, can I just walk around? She talked to the doctor and then they gave the okay for me to walk around. Each time the contractions came, I would just lean on my husband, and oh my gosh, it was the most painful experience I've ever had in my life, just the contractions alone. And that's when the nurse asked me if I wanted, you know, something for the pain, and I was like, no, I think I can still manage. And so I went back on the bed, and the contractions were even stronger. They were like a minute apart, so this time there was like 0 rest. So So the nurse was talking to the doctor and they moved me to the labor and delivery room, which is another room. Finally, I asked for the gas mask. So I used the gas mask and the laughing gas did nothing for me. It's supposed to take the edge off, but it didn't. So then the nurse offered me fentanyl, which is a drug that you get through an IV. So they stuck a needle in my arm and they gave me that drug. And again, it didn't do anything for me. The pain was still there. It was super intense. And the nurse was talking to the doctor and I overheard her saying that my contractions looked like, you know, I was given oxytocin or something. It was really strong. And they were so close together and I wasn't having any breaks. So by this time it was around 3 o'clock and the OB came to check me again and I was still at around like 3.5. She told me that if she broke my water, maybe it would get things going. So I said sure. I didn't really say sure. I was like, okay. So she came in with all these tools and they were all metal tools that looked very scary, and there was like a long needle and there was also a speculum. But you know, when you have your pap smear, they use a plastic speculum that's disposable. Well, this one was made out of steel and it looked a lot bigger. She told me to spread my legs and they put like a pad underneath me, and I didn't really know what was going on, but my husband saw everything and basically said that she inserted that and then the clamp opened me up, and that was a little bit painful. Even though I was having my contractions, I can still feel the pain there. And I think what she did was she was holding the baby's head, like pushing it a little in so that all the water can come out, because if the baby's head is right against your cervix, it plugs your water, and that's what happened. Like my water was plugged, it was just dripping a bit, so she pushed his head so that all the water can come out. So that was at 3 when they broke my water, and then at 4 o'clock the doctor came back in and still I wasn't showing any progress. I was still stuck at nearly 4 centimeters and the contractions were so painful at this point, so finally I just opted for an epidural. I was really lucky and fortunate because the anesthesiologist was free, so right when I opted to have it, 10 minutes later he came. Usually when you ask for it, the anesthesiologist is busy doing something else or he's in the operating room, and you usually don't get it right away. Some people wait for hours until they get it. And so he came in and he looked all calm, and I shouldn't have looked at the tools, but he was wheeling in all his equipment and I saw the giant needle. At first, because the big needle is really big, they have to numb that area first, so I felt a smaller needle go into my spine. It went in and then they have to hold you in place, and after they put that large needle in, they thread a catheter through it, and then they tape the catheter on your back, and then that's when they start giving the medication through that tube. And the first dose was really good, so in 10 minutes I was already feeling like I was in heaven, like the pain was gone. And usually when you get that, it starts to wear off and then they let you top up, but it's never as good as the beginning because afterwards you can start feeling the pain and pressure again. So after I got the epidural, they needed to insert a Foley catheter in me so that I could use the washroom, because when you get your epidural you can't move at all, so you can't go to the washroom. So again, I got the Foley catheter, but because I was completely numb, I didn't really feel it. Yeah, so then I just relaxed for about 2 hours and everything was all good, and they came back in at around 5:30. The doctor came to check again and I was still stuck at nearly 4 centimeters, and that's when she brought up C-section. And right when I heard that, I was really disappointed because even though I didn't have a birth plan, I was hoping for a vaginal birth. And another thing is that I'm super afraid of surgery, and if I had the C-section, it would have been my very first surgery. So by 7 o'clock, the OB doctor came in again with another high-risk doctor, and they started talking about, you know, the C-section and the procedure to me, and they also brought in papers. And I was a bit upset because I felt like they were trying to rush me into getting a C-section, but it's only been 13 hours since my water broke, and I know that people have gone through labor for way longer than that. So I was explaining that to the doctor, how I felt like it was rushed, and I was completely honest because, you know, it's my first birthing experience. And she told me that because she broke my water already, there's not a lot of cushion for Jellybean, so with each contraction it was stressful for him, and also his heart rate would decelerate each time I had a contraction, and when the contraction was over it would recover, so they weren't very worried about that. I know that there is a procedure they have called I think it's called amino infusion, and that's when they put water back in you, but that's a risky procedure as well. So I agreed to have the operation and I signed the papers. We still had to wait for the operating room to be free, so I asked for more top off for my epidural, but the nurse said that I can't have any more, and I was like, what? And she's like, they're going to probably give you another type of medication when you have your surgery, so they don't want you to be, you know, getting this one right now. So at this point, my contractions were coming back strong. I could feel my legs again, and they were even, I couldn't imagine, but they were even more painful than the contractions I had in the afternoon. They were so painful that I couldn't even talk. So then finally at 9:30, they wheeled me into the OR, and the atmosphere completely changed. So in the labor and delivery room, it was nice and quiet, and it was dim and peaceful. And then in this operating room, it was freezing cold, it was super bright, and people were everywhere. And afterwards, I got the medication. I don't know what they gave me, but I was shaking like crazy and I couldn't control it. I thought the procedure would be long, but it only took about 20 minutes. And during the time when they started cutting me, I didn't feel the pain, of course, but I felt the pressure and the tugging, and it felt really weird. Like I can feel the tugging, but no pain. And then finally, after a few minutes, I hear the doctor say, "It's a healthy baby boy." And everyone was like, "Oh, he's a good size." And another male nurse said, "Oh my gosh, he's got more hair than I do." And they're saying all these things, but it was super quiet. I didn't hear any baby cries, and it was really strange. So I was thinking, am I on these drugs? Am I tripping? Like, am I hearing things right? Because I don't hear a baby, but I hear people talking about him. And then I hear the lady say, "I'll take a picture at the time, it's 10:19. And I'm like, "Oh, am I going crazy?" I'm literally just lying there thinking, like, my head is spinning, like my baby's here, but I don't hear him and I don't see him. And I felt so alone for some reason. It was kind of depressing. And then my hubby was gone because he went to look at what was going on. And then finally I heard a burst of cry that was coming from Jellybean. And I was so happy. Right when I heard the cry, it was just a sound of relief. And then my hubby came and said, "Oh, he's a healthy baby boy." And then they put him onto my chest and we did skin to skin for 5 minutes and we took pictures. And then they took him away from me, and I'm like, "Where are you taking him?" And they said that Jellybean is going to go with my hubby and I have to go to the recovery room. And in the recovery room, they hooked me up to some more monitors where they were able to check my vitals, see if the medication is wearing off properly. And then my hubby and Jellybean came back in, and we didn't name him yet. We're still calling him Jellybean in the beginning. And they let me have more skin to skin with Jellybean, and I also got to breastfeed him for the first time. And then my hubby and Jellybean went away to another room where they were waiting for me. And I stayed in that recovery room for about 2 hours, and usually it only takes about an hour, but because I have a smaller frame, I guess the medication took a bit longer to wear off. So they wheeled me into our room and they transferred me to the bed, which was super painful because at this point the meds were wearing off and I can feel everything again. So when we got to the room, it was nice and quiet, and it was just me and my hubby and our little baby. The next day, the nurses came in and it was 7 a.m. and she just told me to get up. And I was like, "I can't get up. I was just cut open. Like, how is this possible?" I'm like, "I might rip or tear something." And the nurse was like, "No, sweetie. They close you back up. They stitch you many times. They stitch the inside of your uterus, the outside of your uterus, the muscle, and then the skin." So she's like, "You won't tear open." And I was still scared and terrified. So I walked around for about an hour, and then at 8 o'clock the OB that operated on me the night before came in to check up on me, and she told me that, you know, a vaginal birth was never in the cards for me because A, my baby was too big, and B, what happened was his head wasn't positioned properly. So if this was his head and this was the cervix, it's supposed to be positioned over here so that it can open up and the baby comes up. But with Jellybean, this was the cervix and his head was over here. So of course it can't really get through because his head is so broad here. And he was trying to push through my cervix with each contraction, but it wouldn't get through. So the doctor said when she took him out, she actually saw like a little circle above his head where he was trying to push his way through the cervix. And that just broke my heart because had I known I was putting him through so much, I would have opted for the operation sooner. So even though my experience wasn't what I hoped for, I'm still thankful because now I have Jellybean, and just looking at him makes me forget all the pain I went through. And it was kind of funny because the other day I was telling my hubby, like, "I think I'm ready for a second baby. I mean, the pain wasn't that bad, right?" And he just looked at me and was like, "So this is Logan." Yeah, say hi, YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Remember me? He is quite a big boy now. He's 8.5 months old. When he came out, he was a little over 8.5 pounds, and he was 21 inches long. Yeah, and now he's a big boy. And I didn't know how big 8.5 pounds was until we were being discharged and I saw the other babies. And they were 6 pounds and 7 pounds, and they looked so tiny compared to him, which was really strange because I was the smaller mother in the room. Everybody was tall, and I was like the short girl with the biggest baby. Yeah, just cute. Yeah. So yes, this is him. He's bald right now because what happened was at 4.5 months old, he started losing all of his hair. And now it's just growing back again and it's growing in patches. So he actually looks like a little old man. Yeah. But your mommy's a little old man. Yeah. And I know I said I wouldn't be doing any more pregnancy or motherhood related videos after birth. But if you guys do want to see more posts about us, just follow us on our social media like Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, and you'll definitely see more of Logan there. And do you want to say anything else? No? So you want to say bye? Say bye, YouTube. See you later, alligator. Bye, guys.